My name's Evan, and I'm 17 years old. And to be honest with you, I hate Nevada. I hate the dust that sticks to everything, the long, empty stretches of highway, the burning summers, and the way winter feels like it's trying too hard. I miss the smell of river water. I miss the way October used to feel back home, how the cold crept in soft instead of sharp. I miss Hopland, California, or at least the version of Hopland I thought I knew. People here in Sparks, Nevada look at my family funny. Not always openly, not always rudely, but they look long enough that you can feel it. I hear the whispers at school, the rumors, the jokes kids think I can't hear, not the real truth. They don't know why we left Hopland with almost no warning. They don't know what happened in that town, a town with one gas station, one elementary school, and less than 1,000 people, where everyone knows everything about everyone, or thinks they do. I didn't want to tell this story. I didn't want to remember it, but the things you don't say have a way of rotting inside you. So I guess it's finally time I explain why my family had to run, why we can't ever go back, and why my older brother, my hero, turned our town into a nightmare. Before my family got chased out, Hopland was just home. It's small, really small, like 700 people small. The kind of town where the whole place runs along Highway 101, where vineyards stretch out like patchwork quilts, and everyone buys gas from the same Chevron because it's the only one around. That October, the vines were turning orange and red. The valley mornings were foggy and cold. You could smell harvest season everywhere. Grapes, dust, wood smoke. Back then, life felt normal, safe. And the last truly good night I remember was the night before my brother left for college. His name's Daniel. He was 20, funny, smart, always calm, the kind of guy who felt older than he was. He could read me better than anyone. If I lied, he knew. If I was sad, he knew. If I said I was fine, he knew I wasn't. We spent that whole night on the couch together, just the two of us. Mom and Dad had gone to bed early. The lamps were off except for the glow of the TV, lighting up the living room in pulsing blue. We were watching horror movies, cheap slasher flicks mostly. Stuff we used to rent when we were younger. At one point, Daniel nudged me. "So," he said, "that girl you like, Kylie, you gonna make a move or what?" I felt my face burn. "I don't know. Maybe." He laughed. "Dude, maybe is how you die in the friend zone." I shoved his shoulder. "Shut up." He leaned back, wearing that stupid grin. "All right, little bro. You want to know how to get to third base?" "Jesus, Dan. I'm serious," he said, raising both hands. Pure, genuine, older brother wisdom here. And yeah, we talked about it. Girls, dating, confidence, normal stuff, good stuff. He seemed so genuinely happy that night, so present, so real. But everything changed after that. The killing started about a week after Daniel left. Hopland had never seen anything like it. People don't go missing in towns like ours. Not really. Everyone knows everyone's business, and news spreads before breakfast. But the first victim was a jogger, a woman from Ukiah who was visiting vineyards nearby. Then a waitress from the Bluebird Cafe disappeared. Then 2 high school girls never came home. The town went from anxious to terrified. Power lines went down. Sheriff vehicles were found with their tires slashed. People claimed their porch lights were unscrewed at night. Dogs barked at nothing. Kids weren't allowed outside after dark. Hopland Elementary shut down for 2 days because they found threatening graffiti behind one of the portable classrooms. Everything felt wrong. I remember one night specifically. I was on the couch with my girlfriend, Kylie. Yeah, the same girl Daniel teased me about. My parents had gone upstairs early. Outside, the wind rattled the siding and the smell of rain drifted through the cracked window. We were watching some dumb Halloween special when she leaned in closer, her hair brushing my cheek. My heart was beating out of my chest. Her hand slid under my shirt, and then, boom, the power died. The entire house snapped into darkness so complete it felt physical. Kylie jerked back, gasping. I froze. Then came the sound of footsteps upstairs. My parents stumbling awake. Mom yelling, "Evan, what happened?" Dad rushing down the stairs, flashlight beam bouncing around the room. We got busted, obviously. Kylie got sent home. I got a 2-week grounding. But nobody blamed the outage on us. Everyone assumed the same thing. The killer's messing with the grid again. Hopland felt like it was suffocating under fear. And in the middle of all this, Daniel called home every few days from college. He always sounded tired but supportive. "You doing okay, man? Don't stress Mom and Dad. Stay inside at night." He always knew the right things to say. I never questioned it. Not once. Hopland usually does a great Halloween. The elementary school does a festival. Families carve pumpkins. The vineyards put out hay bales and scarecrows along the road. But 3 days before Halloween, the sheriff declared a town-wide curfew. No parties, no trick-or-treating, no events. All because of the killer no one could catch. That's when I first noticed something strange, though I didn't understand it at the time. One morning, as I left for school, I glanced at our scarecrow in the vineyard. It was facing east. When I got home that afternoon, it was facing north. I shrugged it off. Wind, probably. Or Dad moved it. Now, looking back, it makes my stomach twist. But the real nightmare didn't hit until November 2nd, the night the storm rolled in. The night my brother's roommate called. The rain was hammering the roof so hard it sounded like gravel being dumped from the sky. Wind pushed against the windows, and lightning flickered over the vineyards like camera flashes. Dad answered the phone, and at first he was confused. "What do you mean he never arrived?" "I dropped him off myself." No, he's been calling us." Mom froze. I stepped closer. Dad looked pale. "His roommate says Daniel never checked in. He never enrolled. They don't know where he is." Mom's voice cracked. "Something happened. Something terrible. Oh God, what if someone took him? What if someone's hurting him?" She wasn't thinking about murder. She wasn't thinking about Hopland's killer. She was thinking like a mother. And when Dad remembered that Daniel had been calling us every few days, his voice faltered. "Maybe someone's forcing him to call," he whispered. "A ransom or something." Mom grabbed the phone again to call the sheriff and report him missing. The fear in her voice was raw, real. Not once, not even for a second, did any of us think he was anywhere near Hopland. While Mom was on the call, Dad looked at me and said, "Let's check the barn. Maybe he left something behind. A notebook, numbers, something that tells us where he went. We were looking for clues that might save him." That's what makes what happened next so much worse. The wind pushed against us as we crossed the vineyard. The scarecrow stood in the dark rows, rain dripping from its burlap head. The barn door groaned open. We stepped inside, and immediately I felt something wrong in the air. Warm breath almost. Like someone had been in there recently. Dad lifted his flashlight. There was a cot in the corner. Blankets, water jugs, food wrappers, a duffel bag half unzipped. Mom covered her mouth. He was living here?" Dad stepped forward, heartbroken. Why didn't he call for help?" Mom moved toward the workbench and screamed. There were tools laid out, not normal farm tools. Rope, chloroform bottles, duct tape, Polaroids, maps, newspapers with victim names circled, a burner phone. I felt dizzy, and then I saw it. Folded neatly on a stool was our scarecrow's outfit. The old flannel, the gloves, the burlap head, and it was dry, fresh. Lightning exploded across the sky, the barn flooded with white light, and standing in the doorway, silhouetted, dripping, calm, was Daniel, wearing the scarecrow's clothes. He stepped inside, eyes locked on mine. "Hey, little bro." Mom sobbed. Dad yelled. I couldn't move. Daniel crouched to meet my eyes. "You kept my secret better than anyone." And he smiled. Mom's missing person call was still active. The sheriff and 2 deputies were already on their way. When they pulled up, they thought they were showing up to take a report on a missing student, not walking into the den of a serial killer. And Daniel didn't fight. He didn't run. He just walked toward them, calm, cooperative, hands visible. Sheriff Collins had known him since he was a kid. They didn't have bodies. They didn't have definitive proof. They didn't want to traumatize anyone, so they didn't cuff him. "Daniel," Collins said softly, "we're gonna go talk in Ukiah, all right? We're just clearing things up." Daniel nodded. He walked to the front seat of the patrol car and buckled himself in. As they closed the door, he turned toward me one last time. There was no anger in his eyes, no fear, just disappointment. The cruiser pulled away, red lights reflecting off the wet pavement. Mom collapsed into Dad's arms. I felt empty. It was over, we thought. An hour later, they found the patrol car crashed on Highway 101 near the river bridge. Rain still falling, engine still warm. Sheriff Collins slumped over the wheel, throat cut, multiple stab wounds. His radio was smashed, his gun missing. Daniel was gone. Footprints led toward the vineyards, then vanished in the mud. Search teams flooded the area. State troopers, helicopters, dogs. Nothing. Hopland turned on us instantly. "You knew. You raised a murderer. You protected him. You let him kill our town." It didn't matter that we were victims too. It didn't matter that we were devastated, grieving, terrified. The truth didn't matter, only the fear. Within days, it became clear we couldn't stay. We packed everything we could into the truck and drove east until California was just a memory behind us. Now we live in Sparks, Nevada, a place with no vineyards, no slow October mornings, no sense of safety, just strip malls, concrete, desert wind, and the constant, heavy knowledge that my brother is still out there, somewhere, watching, waiting. And on certain nights, when the wind hits the siding just right, I swear I hear his voice again. "You kept my secret better than anyone."